Today I will be educating you on the topic of water pollution. I will be covering the effects it has not only on the environment, but on the inhabitants living within the environment. So what exactly is water pollution? Water pollution is any chemical, biological, or physical change in water quality that has a harmful effect on living organisms or makes water unsuitable for desired usage. There are two main sources of water pollution: point and non-point sources. A point source is the discharge of pollutants at a certain location throughout drain pipes, ditches, or sewer lines into bodies of surface waters. Some examples include factories, sewage treatment plants, and underground mines. Non-point sources are scattered and diffused and cannot be traced to a single site of discharge. Some examples include runoff from chemicals and sediments from croplands, livestock feedlots, logged forests, and surface mines. There are many forms of water pollution. The most prominent are chemical waste, oil spills, mining, burning of fossil fuels, and marine dumping. Water pollution has great effects on wildlife too, including growth defects, destruction of ecosystems, and death. This example shows the top 10 trash found in the world's oceans, number 1 being cigarettes. This is a pelican after an oil spill. As you can see, the oil has covered its feathers, temporarily paralyzing the bird, not letting it to fly away. Scientific research shows that populations of many forms of marine life recover from exposure to large amounts of crude oil within 3 years. But recovery from exposure to refined oil, especially in salt marshes, can take 10 to 20 years. This is the sad reality of water pollution. Helpless animals are stranded, slowly dying from the litter that is being thrown into the oceans. Many businesses and companies choose to pollute rather than proceeding with the costs of cleaning up chemical waste and pollution. By doing this, they save both time and money. Most often, they get away with pollution. Even if they don't, the amount of money that they make from polluting is often greater than the charges and fines given as a punishment. Groundwater can become contaminated with a variety of chemicals because it cannot effectively cleanse itself and dilute and disperse pollutants. In this example above, this shows how, as the water moves through the water cycle, it quickly becomes polluted. As the runoff from the rain seeps into the ground, it leaches into the watershed, polluting the groundwater supply. Some ways of preventing groundwater pollution are to find substitutes for toxic chemicals, keep toxic chemicals out of the environment, install toxic monitoring wells near landfills and underground tanks, and require leak detectors on underground tanks. Water pollution has many harmful effects on humans, such as undrinkable water. It causes diseases and possibly death. While most developed countries have drinking water quality standards and laws, most developing countries do not. Such laws rarely exist, or are poorly enforced in most developing countries. On December 31st of 2012, in Changxi, China, there was a massive toxic leak. The leak affected at least 28 villages and a handful of cities of more than 1 million people. The conflict over the Changxi spill has drawn attention to the growing problems with water use and pollution in northern China. In 2011, inspections in 200 cities across China found that water in 55% of the tests were rated fairly poor to extremely poor. In a recent news article from Changxi, China, 500 students are sick near a closed chemical plant. High concentrations of toxic chemicals may have caused cases of lymphoma and leukemia among the students. The Flint water crisis. Residents began complaining to local leaders about foul-smelling tap water. Symptoms such as rashes and hair loss were recorded. More than 100,000 Flint residents are affected by this. The city of Flint didn't realize the magnitude of the problem until April of 2014. In a financial burden, the city of Flint temporarily switched the main source of Flint's water from Lake Huron to the Flint River. Little did they know that the water in the Flint River was highly corrosive. Many of the service lines to Flint are made of lead. The noxious element within the pipes leached into homes throughout the city. Lead exposure is very dangerous to anyone. It can cause hair loss, vision loss, and memory loss. It can also have an effect on developing children's brains. There are many ways that we can stop water pollution, but I have to start with you first. Stop polluting and recycle. The key to reducing non-point pollution, most of it from farming, is to prevent it from reaching bodies of surface water. Farmers can reduce soil erosion by keeping cropland covered with vegetation. They can also reduce the amount of fertilizer that runs off into surface waters and leaches into aquifers by using slow-release fertilizers. Stricter pollution control regulations for the U.S. livestock have fluttered scientists to come up with better ways to deal with animal waste. Water pollution laws have significantly improved water quality in many streams and lakes, but there is still a long way to go.